Thank you very much for having me here today. I think we have to look at Bank البلاد as first, is that being an Islamic compliant bank. This is one of the things that we leverage on, and this is very important to us. The second thing is that in terms of how do we compete on the overall, we look at the being authentic, having the quality of the service and delivery, and also having the range of products and services that are being in need in the market and being supplying to this one, and being good at a niche market. Definitely we can't be good at everything, but we're having a big retail network, we are leveraging on it, and this is, I think, one of our strengths in Bank البلاد of having a big network.
How important is it to your customers that you are a fully Sharia compliant bank? I mean, have you done studies to say, well, people choose you not because of the financial competitiveness of the products necessarily, I'm sure they are, but because of the nature of your Sharia compliance?
Definitely, that is probably one of the most important reasons that our clients are choosing us. We are a 100% Islamic-based bank. We don't have any conventional products or services that are not compliant with the rules and regulation of being authentic Islamic bank. So definitely that is one of the most important reasons that our clients are coming to us for that reason.
But I mean, presumably, your clients are regular Saudis. They want a product that's competitive. They want a product that's priced in line with everything else. They're not going to buy maybe they are, but I doubt they would buy a product that was uncompetitive simply because it was Sharia compliant. But traditionally, Sharia compliance implies an extra level of cost.
Yes.
How do you manage, I mean, it does it now with you, and how do you manage that cost, if it does?
First of all, I don't think that's true. Definitely it's not. It's in terms of the cost is probably, if it's not the same, it's less. And I'll say this one for once and all, and it's for good. For being an Islamic bank, God forbid, if anybody defaults, we don't charge them a single halala extra. So there is no way in doubt that people would doubt that we do pay additional charges, or we ask our clients to do. So definitely, when in terms of cost, definitely it's probably the same. If it's not the same, it's less. And as I said, we are very competitive. We have to be very competitive, and we know at this point of time, in terms of pricing, it's what we call a throat cutting, because it is very, very competitive. Because of this, we rely on the strength of actually having a good quality of delivery in our own, either through our own branches or through our internet or ATM systems and operations.
You mentioned a word there which was default. So let's say that you're lending to a customer. The customer, for whatever reason, good or bad, defaults, and you're not charging them extra. Now, I mean, from a risk management point of view, not that I'm a risk manager, but I would begin to start getting a bit worried, because you do need to charge more for people that default. I mean, how do you manage risk?
First of all, definitely we mitigate all the risk, and we look at the criteria of actually going through all the 4 and 5 C's before we lend to anybody. And the first thing is that we are extremely, very highly selective in terms of our client base. We look at our collateral or being strong in there. The second thing is that we don't use our collateral as only the last resort of repayment, but definitely we mitigate the risk, we look at it and we evaluate it accordingly, and we are, alhamdulillah, we are very good at it, and probably you could see through our the default rate is becoming lower and lower through the years.
Let's talk about the C word, collateral.
Yes.
And you'll have to pardon, I hope, my ignorance of this, but I mean, presumably as an Islamic bank, when you lend someone, you're not lending like a credit card, you're not lending necessarily against salaries or cash flows. There will be an underlying asset.
Yes.
In the event of default,
yes.
I mean, you must have had some defaulted customers. Has it ever gone to the place where you have to seize that asset?
As I said, it is the last resort, but when we say collateral, it doesn't have to be assets. If it's a contract, we are having the assignment of proceeds. If it's an asset-based thing, yes, we are looking at the assets, but definitely we use the assets as the last resort of repayment, because if we don't believe in the beginning is that we have a very good, reliable client that is willing and have the capability to meet his short and long-term obligation, we will never lend to.
Is there enough, looking particularly at the retail space, maybe SME, we can talk to that in a second, but is there enough credit information, as far as you're concerned, available to institutions like yourself about the credit worthiness of individual Saudis?
I think we have a lot. Definitely 5 or 6 years when we didn't have the SIMA, which is the credit bureau. Now we have SIMA, and we are and it's very good, very reliable, and it is improving the quality of the credit in the market. And now people are learning you have to have a very good track record of credit worthiness. And we use this one, and we think it is a very good, important thing that we are looking at this point of time.
I have a couple more questions, and the first of that is your geographic focus. Again, I talked to Yahya about this, and he very passionately talking about the regional aspect of his institution.
Yes.
Do you see yourselves as a Saudi bank, or do you have wider aspirations? And if so, why? Why would you want to go elsewhere?
Definitely, I think we are 100% Saudi bank, and our interest is in the local market. And I think the local market has a lot to be covered and served. If we become a larger institution and we think there is a market niche outside that is making a good returns, yes, we might think of it, and it's an option, and it's an open option.
I mean, we're about to go into a final discussion before lunch, which is about Sukuk. You're an Islamic bank, so we might as well start this discussion there, give you a few minutes on this. Sukuk, as far as you're concerned, I mean, have you bought any, did you buy any of Faisal's competitively, where's he gone? Competitively priced Sukuk? Is it something you use as a treasury?
As I said, we are a commercial bank that we look at our own investments in terms of return.
Of course.
Anything that will give us a better return than what we are making, definitely we'll look into it. But Sukuk is very important. It's in the debt market. It is, and we use it, and we should be using it. Nowadays, we are a cash-rich bank, but definitely I think it is an option, Sukuk, to be there, either for investment purposes or for the funding purposes, or even at the longer range when you look at the capital adequacy and the requirements of Basel, to be having very liquid instruments that you are having.
I mean, so you see that, I mean, there's still a way to go in the development of effectively, let's call it a liquid money market, with Sharia-compliant products that enable you to manage your liquidity, to manage your risk. But from a perspective of the bank, would you consider using it? We did talk to this slightly, but we'll go into more detail, as a funding mechanism. I mean, you presumably you're primarily a retail deposit gatherer. You have these cheap deposits.
Yes.
Would you look to the Sukuk market as
we will look at it, but as I said, and I'm very happy that Yahya is not here, so he's not listening to me.
He's probably hiding at the back.
Or maybe he has a spy here or something. But anyway, I think having retail will give us the edge to be very competitive. I think you have a very almost free funding mechanism. Why would I go to something that I'm paying money on? And this is what gives us the edge. And even looking at the corporate side, and as I said, we are competing on both sides of the balance sheet. If we are strong in the liability side, or having a lot of free deposits, definitely we'll have more ability to compete in the corporate rating.
Before we close, let's just broaden the subject a little and touch on some of the global points that the others mentioned. You're a Saudi bank, you're cash rich, you've got a strategy. Does it matter to you whether the Eurozone implodes or not?
Definitely we do care, and it's very important. We are part of this world, and whatever happens in the world, it's a small village now. We don't say, yes, we are a bit immune from whatever happening during the crisis, but definitely we are living in a village, and I think it is very important to us to be a solid state.
I mean, so ideally we would like the problem to go away. I fear that we may be here next year talking about, let us hope we had some resolution, but there might, Saudi is, as you say, it's not immune, but there is a little firewall between them. So what keeps you awake at night? What is the things that you worry about as a banker? Is it a region? Is it a political instability in the region? Is it a drastic change in the credit quality of your customers? What
worries me at this point of time, actually, and doesn't keep me awake, but mild anxiety is actually the price war that we are going through. I think it's not realistic. It's not in the long term. With all due respect, whatever other banks are doing, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot. Yes, they might have very short gains, but in the long term, they will be having problems.
So no more price wars.
I think it shouldn't be. Yes.
We should balance things out.
Yes, even though yes.
Other bankers.
It's good that there are I think there are no regulators here, so I'm very happy to say this one.
Okay. I'm seeing him this afternoon. I'll have a word, see whether we can legislate that. So, if I what would you like? I mean, final question. Let's end on a positive note. What major development would you like to see in the kingdom? I hope, inshallah, we're sitting here in a year's time, and I hope I remember the question. But what would you like to see happen in the next 12 months in the kingdom in a positive way? What would be a really good positive signal to come from?
One of the main concerns and worries that us is the quality of the education. I think this is the main driver of everything. I think their excellencies have talked about it extensively, but I think it's the quality, the efficiency, the productivity. That's what we are missing at this point of time. And to be a very competing nation, I think we should be looking at this one very carefully.
Okay, so we hope to see some markers next year. Khalid, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Very good. Thank you very much.